What's up, guys? We have the pleasure of interviewing Cubs pitcher Chris Clarke today. He was selected in the fourth round and attended USC. So welcome to the show, Chris Clarke.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
All right. First off, we'd like to start off with talking about how you had Tommy John at such a young age and what you went through going through that and what that taught you and how difficult that was.
Well, yeah, I had Tommy John when I was 16 years old. Blew out last game of the season, my sophomore year in high school. It was tough. It was the day after my birthday.
Oh, wow.
That happened.
That sucks.
I didn't even know back then like what a UCL was. I mean, I definitely heard about it, but I remember going to Bass Pro Shops the day after I pitched and like just to like buy a rod or something. And I like looked at my buddy. I was like, "Yo, I don't know what blowing your arm out feels like, but I'm pretty sure I just did it." It was tough, like picked up off the shelves, and it was a really tough time. But it taught me a lot about life and a lot about how like grinding through the stuff you don't want to do, and a lot about getting into a routine that I still do today. I mean, I still do my TJ rehab today, and I mean, my elbow feels great, so I don't really have to worry about that. But it taught me a lot.
Did you think that it would have been detrimental to your career at that point, or did you still have hopes of going pro?
I mean, back then, pro ball wasn't really on my mind. I mean, for me, it was more about like playing college baseball. My family's always kind of preached that like if you're going to play baseball, like you're going to do something with it. And in my case back then, it was like you're going to use baseball to get an education. So I'd committed to USC. All the coaches there were confident that I was still going to step on the campus, and I just went through that for my junior year of high school. Came back senior year of high school, played well, and went to USC the next year. And it was a hell of a learning experience. I wouldn't suggest it to anyone, but it just happened to be how my career got started.
Okay. Speaking of USC, what was the best part about getting the opportunity to pitch there?
Oh man, I feel like the exposure was probably one of the biggest things. I mean, like you're in the Pac-12, like everybody that you're playing is no slouch. I mean, you have Vaughn, who won Golden Spikes of the Year. I mean, you got freaking Trevor Larnach for OSU. That dude was a beast. Oh, and Adley Rutschman. How did I not mention him before Larnach? I mean, like you're facing dudes that are gonna play like in the show, and it's not really a matter of whether or not you feel like you can get those guys out, because like you definitely can, but it's more like, all right, how do you do it like every time? You know, like how do you get up there and like execute your pitches where it's not like, okay, you got a freaking double off me. I want you to go 0 for 3. Like that's the goal here. So, I mean, once you get to pro ball, everybody's nasty. So I feel like USC was a great opportunity for me to like figure out how like competition like really works at that level and build off of that into my pro career.
Would you say the toughest hitter you faced in college was?
I mean, I faced my brother 3 times in college. He went to UCLA.
That's
He has
pretty
3
cool.
ABs against me. He's 0 for 3.
Oh, you got it on him.
Yeah. But no, he knew every single pitch that was coming. I mean, that's the guy that I grew up pitching against. That's the guy that I always had to practice against. So having him in the box was kind of just like, okay, full focus here, because he knows what's coming and I know what's going to happen. So
did you know you always wanted to go there, or from like a young age, or did you like figure out you want to go there during like the college process and stuff like that?
I think actually when I was a kid, my mom always told me that like after like I would watch the College World Series, and I would always say like I want to be there, like pointing at UCLA. Actually, that was like where I wanted to go. And then going through the recruiting process and seeing like the vibe of the campus, and definitely the like value that the education holds, USC was just so much more important to me. And I wanted to do business, so I went to business school there for 3 years before I got drafted. So I feel like USC was just a much better fit for what I wanted to do in life. Mhm.
So yeah, going into more of like an advice question, like what was the best piece of advice you've received like to get to the point where you are right now? If it was through Tommy John at USC or even in pro ball or at a young age.
It's a good question. I've definitely received a lot of advice over the years. Not all of it really works, but I feel like the biggest thing for me, at least in college, was to trust it. Like you're putting all this work you're going week in, week out, like doing all your lifts, doing all your conditioning, doing all your shoulder work. Like you can't just go up to the mound and try and throw the ball as hard as you can, or try and make the ball spin, or make sure that you really reach out and like hit your spot. Like the way your body moves is the way your body moves. So for me, it was just like, you know what, trust that all this work that you're putting into is going to lead to something that's going to make you a great ball player. And once I kind of just started like implementing that and everything, I feel like my mentality just became so much more in the moment base rather than like, okay, I have to do everything.
So I was wondering how much of an impact did a non-existent 2020 season make on you?
Oh, it's terrible. Oh my gosh. COVID was bad for all sports. I wouldn't say that like baseball probably took it the hardest because it got cut like 3 days into spring training. That was also my first spring training. So I was like super pumped. I was ready to go, like got into it. It was raining. So it was like super dramatic. But no, like the thing about COVID that like really sucked is that I've always played on a team. I've always been with like USC high school pro ball, and you don't realize like how much support like you really need like in this game. Like just something as simple as just like food after the game. Like once you go into like independent ball, I feel like that was like what COVID really showed me. Is like, okay, you really have to do like everything. You got to cook, you got to do your own laundry, you got to make sure you do your training on your own. There was really just like no like competitive drive, and we were all supposed to stay apart. Like I remember I did a camp with the Cubs, and like we literally drove to the field. Like the van could fit 16 people, and we were only allowed to have 4. So I mean, I was with that group of 4 like the whole time. Like I never got to compete with anybody else. And the other 3 guys I was with were from the Dominican. Actually, one of them was from Venezuela. So I was speaking Spanish half the time to these guys. So I never really had like that, like, and they were all position players. So everything we were doing was just kind of like, it was really confusing, and it kind of just taught me how to like block out all the BS that happens in baseball. And like COVID was really hard for me because I hurt my hip last year. And that was just brutal because I didn't know that I did it. It was a labrum, so I didn't really feel like, oh, like this is like, oh, it's not like when you like pull a muscle and you're like, okay, I can't walk. Like, this is obviously bad. For me, it was just more of like a mobility and an endurance thing. And I feel like COVID was kind of probably a factor into that because all I was doing was just like going in and lifting and coming back home. And when I got my work in, that was kind of just like the end of the day because we didn't know if there was going to be a season. Actually, I have something funny to say. So like the season got canceled. You know how we waited like 4 or 5 months and then the season's like boom, canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped throwing. I was like, we're not having a season. So I was like, I'm not going to throw. So I'm just going to lift. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get big. And all of a sudden my coordinator calls me, Casey Jacobson, like 3 weeks later. And he's like, how's throwing going? And I was like, I haven't been doing anything. Like, what do you mean? And he goes, oh no, you should definitely still be doing it. So I had to like build back up, and it was just kind of funny the way it happened.
During COVID, did you work on any like pitches, like develop anything, any new stuff, or did you stick with your stuff? Because I know sometimes when pitchers experiment with too much, they could form like bad habits and stuff.
Yeah. So for me in spring training, those 3 days that I was there, I was learning the cutter, which is kind of a cutter slider mix. Like it's kind of in between on the stuff. But for me, like learning that pitch, my only goal was like, don't morph anything. Like don't get the curveball to turn into a slider. Like this is a slider or a cutter. Like it needs to go like that, like I don't want it to have like really all that much depth to it. And yeah, that was like how I spent like the majority of quarantine, was like figuring out like not only how to like throw that pitch consistently, but like also like what count to like use it in. Like once you get a new pitch, it's great that you have it, but it's like, okay, you can't just throw it every time. So you got to find out, okay, how does it play off of all your other stuff? And for me, it was just kind of like, all right, well, something like a 2-1 or 3-1 count. I don't want to throw a fastball. Like this works too. So play off of that like horizontal split. But yeah, I learned a cutter.
For my next question, I was wondering, you said you went to spring training before COVID shut it down, sadly, but were there any players, or is there any players on the Cubs that you want to pick their brains and just like ask them questions and like that?
Like in the big league team?
Yeah, or like anybody on like the minor league team who's like a vet, where it's like well respected like amongst like the organization.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I feel like honestly, the way I speak about baseball is like I'm always kind of picking your brain. I always want to know like how you throw like your nasty slider, your nasty curveball, or like how you grip a changeup. But like it doesn't always apply, just because I'm like asking about it doesn't always mean that it's going to work for me. And I feel like usually when somebody says like, oh, I do it this way, like in my head, I'm like, oh, cool. But like in reality, it's like, I can't do that because that's not how like my arm slot doesn't work that way. But one of the people that actually taught me a lot this past year, who's in the big league team, was Rowan Wick. He throws out of the pen, and he kind of just taught me the importance of like having strength in the right areas, and how, like I might look strong and I might be strong, but like we want to get strong in order to throw the baseball. So for him, it was kind of just like, all right, I need to get beefy. I need to throw gas. And, you got to like really stay on top of your shoulder work, stay on top of your leg work, and like work from the ground up. Like you can't just feel like you're not just doing Jeter throws off the mound. Like everything's got to be like one cohesive movement. And like he really taught me the importance of that this year.
How much did it mean like coming from a guy like on a big league roster? Like obviously you heard from like all these like instructors in minor leagues and stuff, but how about like a guy that's actually been there and been through the same process you've been in?
It meant a lot. Someone saying that like, you're not that far away, like you're close, like keep up the good work. Like if you want it, like you can do it. And that's kind of just like reassuring, just to have someone that's like gone through that process to just be like, you know what, like you're not as far away as you think. When some days it might feel like, you got nothing in the tank, and you're just like, damn, like I need to work on so much stuff. But like somebody from an outside point of view could be like, yeah, this guy's got something. So it's nice to have like somebody say that they believe in you, because there's so much doubt in this game. So, I mean, one of my biggest probably advice to like amateur players would be like, you got to be willing to find someone that's going to help you. Because the only way to know how to play big league baseball is to talk to a big leaguer that's either active now or has played in the past. Like it's still the same game. It's just a little bit faster now. So yeah, it was really helpful.
So going into more like a game day routine, how do you prepare? Because there's definitely pitchers that like can't talk to anyone, and like have a certain routine. Like Corey Kluber, like he's known for like even in All-Star games, like he has a set routine, can't talk to anybody, has like a certain time. And there's other pitchers that can just like relax and like talk to everyone and then get to the routine. So how do you put yourself in that kind of situation?
I talk a lot. So for me, like I know talking to other people is just distracting myself from the task at hand. And like I always used to think like having like this insane focus is what was needed, but it's really just focusing on the right thing, which is like make this pitch, get this guy out any way that you can, and keep the ball down. So like I don't know, like I definitely give off the vibe to fellow players. It's like, hey, like this is my day. Like I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna pitch. Like don't come up to me all happy gilly. Like you can do that tomorrow, you can do that the next day, you can do the day before. Like I don't mind, but like I don't know, the day of, I just like, I wake up and I'm just like ready to go. Like eating is like not really a priority when I wake up, which is weird. So I have to like make sure that I like get everything going. And um, I feel like the hardest part in like really getting to get to the ballpark and getting things going is like you're lonely. Like you have the whole day to yourself, pretty much. Like guys show up to the field like 3-4 hours before you. So there's nobody going to be around to like hang out and like talk to you. So you kind of just have to find stuff to do. Um, I don't know, just watch YouTube, like do something that takes my mind off the game. Because if you focus on the moment of like, all right, I'm stretching, all right, I'm warming up, all right, I'm playing catch, all right, I'm in the bullpen. If you're in the moment for all those things, like you'll be in the moment when you get to the game. So, like, yeah, it definitely starts in the clubhouse, though. Good question.
And then for my final question, I was wondering, like, what's your like favorite thing to do on your free time?
Favorite thing to do in my free time? I love golf. Golf's the best, honestly. Um, I'm also kind of good at it, so it doesn't hurt to go out and put up a good score. Um, but I'd say probably fishing. Fishing is one of those things that I absolutely love that. I live on a golf course in Florida, so I sometimes go out and I fish the golf ponds, and I've had many interactions with the security guard here that is like, hey, like you got to go, and I pretty much say the same thing to him every time. I'm like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow.
So basically, what's your favorite baseball memory? You've had a very long or very eventful baseball career as of now, but still long to go. But what would you say in college, as in high school or middle school, or even in pro ball? What would you say your favorite memories as of now?
I would say probably my favorite memory right now is probably coming back from a torn labrum was pretty special, especially after like COVID. I mean, missed a whole season, missed a whole nother half season, did 17 weeks in Arizona at 120 degrees. Like that was really hard on my mind. And I started to think like I didn't like start to believe it, but there are definitely some thoughts of like, like, can I do this? Like, can I like really like overcome this? Because there were some days where I was walking and I was like, this is not feeling right. Like I might be walking right now, but I don't think I could pitch. And that was like what Rowan Wick is like, you got to get that strength back up in the right area. And I was just like, okay, like, I can do this. And I remember I think I threw like 4 innings. It was a solid outing. And I like came back in and I had to like run to the clubhouse because like I just started crying. I was just like, I can't believe I just did that. It was like over 700 days since my last outing. It was like 714 days or something. And like I remember like telling myself, I was like, stop being a pussy. Like you gotta man up. Like this is baseball, like whatever. And I just like the emotions like literally just like couldn't stop. My pitching coach got mad because he's like, if you're gonna pitch, like you have to stay out and you have to watch your offense like go out there for you. And I just like looked at him and was like, Tony, I was just freaking crying for the last 5 minutes. I can't believe I just did that. Like it was a long road, man. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Obviously, every time I come off the mound, I don't like shed tears or anything. But like that was like the one instance where I was like, holy crap, like I did it, like and it felt really good.
So my final question is a little bit of a fun one. Just going through your social medias, it seems like you're big on facial hair. What's your favorite facial hairstyle you've had, and what do you plan to rock in 2022?
2022, I think I'm going clean shaven.
Oh.
Maybe a little stubble. But like I want to save it for the playoffs. So like probably get a little beard action going. And then my favorite style. I really like a curled mustache. I've only done it twice, but my girlfriend hates it. But like I feel like I don't know. I really like the full beard, and then like I'll shave this. So it kind of looks like Wolverine too. Like that's a good one. That's what I was rehabbing in Arizona for the 17 weeks. I had that Wolverine look. Just because, I don't know. There was also one at Dodger Stadium where my face was curled and it had handlebars on the bottom and a flavor saver. So my face was growing in 5 different directions. So no, that was, I don't know. It was a lot. Like, just because you're on that topic, I feel like I should tell you like how this started. So like in college, I would grow out like a beard.
Hmm.
My freshman year, and I would wake up, go to weights, and then so I'd have a full beard at weights, and then I would shave a little bit like in between, take like 5 minutes, and then I'd have something else. So then you'd see me at conditioning or in class, and you'd be like, "Who the what? Like who's this guy?" And then we'd go to practice, and I'd shave again into something else, and then we'd go to like conditioning after, and I'd have like something else. So it was like I'd go through like 4 or 5 different looks in a day. And if I ran into the same person, they were just always like, hmm. So that's how it started.
All right. So you finished at high A last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you know where you're going to be pitching next year yet, or that'll be decided during spring training?
It'll definitely be decided in spring training. I mean, your guess is as good as mine on where I'm going to go, but I mean, performing and like getting another half season in high A is probably what my trajectory is right now. I'm not going to say that I deserve to go to double A because I definitely feel like I pitched well, but I gotta work on some stuff to become a little more consistent. And I feel like I'm doing that right now. Stuff's coming out
Mhm.
well. Arm feels good, body feels good. I'm like, I put on about 15 pounds of muscle since February. So
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like, if I'm gonna get to double A, I know it's gonna happen, but I want to be ready. So I'm taking all that time now to make sure that when I get there by next year, hopefully I'm gonna stay there and then get to the bigs.
What has been
All
the
right.
main thing you've been focusing on this off season? Like you said, you want to prepare to get to double A. What's been like the main focus this off season for you?
Getting stronger, um, gaining that strength so I can be more resilient. I mean, I was 213 pounds in April when I got hurt. Um, and now I'm 232. So I've been putting on a good weight, eating right. I feel like honestly, nutrition is probably the biggest one. Like eating properly. Like I had no idea that like like I don't really like carbs all that much, which is weird because that's what most people eat. But like, dude, I would just like only have protein. So like I had a nutritionist telling me, he's like, that's fine. Like if you're a bodybuilder, but like if you're an athlete, you need like if you start burning all of your protein and then you get to the point where your body needs more energy, it's out of protein, so it starts to burn muscle. And I was like, all right, that makes sense. So I really cleaned up my diet, like made sure that I was eating like a more well-rounded diet instead of just like one thing. Um, and then yeah, uh, obviously the weight speaks for itself there, and the ball's already flying out of my hand a little easier. So it's been feeling good. I feel like that's my
Yeah.
biggest
When,
thing.
when were you introduced to like nutrition? Like when did you realize that was like a main focus toward for the point where you wanted to get to today?
Um, I feel well. I've always like eaten well. Like I'm not. I'm not like going to McDonald's. I'm not like having Big Macs. Like I'm not like a fast food guy or anything. It's just more of like, okay, like let's see. Like, are you eating vegetables? And it's like yes, but you're not eating enough. It's like okay, are you eating carbs? And it's like sort of, but not enough. And I was like, okay, you're eating protein. Like, all right, you're eating too much of that. And are you having fat? Like, so you can protect your muscles? And I was like, no, not really. So I was like eating such a healthy diet that like I really liked the foods that I was eating. Most people probably wouldn't, but when it came to being an athlete and understanding that, like, hey, you need to really eat everything, that was probably the jump that I made this year in like April, right after I got hurt. I was like, okay, every meal counts. Like our nutritionist said, like you have 21 ways to make a difference every week. You have 21 meals. You have 21 ways to make a difference. So I feel like I just took that to heart. It's really 28 because I eat 4 meals a day, but yeah.
All right. To finish things off here, what have you, first of all, have you visited Wrigley Field yet? And second of all, are you excited that you'll have potentially have the opportunity to pitch at such a historical park?
No, I haven't been to Wrigley Field, but all my family has, which is kind of tough. I have always idolized the older ballparks growing up, like Fenway, Wrigley, Yankee Stadium before they totally like crushed it. But like everything was about like tradition to me in baseball because I feel like when you're on like that field, like you're playing on the same field that all the legends used to play on, like back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Like Randy Johnson played at Wrigley. Like Nolan Ryan played at Wrigley. Like any of those big names have played at Wrigley. So it's like if you can be there and be in front of the Ivy, I feel like that's gonna have like such a big impact on me for like the appreciation of the game because it's like, you know, I'm not a kid from Newbury Park anymore. Like I'm here, and that's something that I'm really working towards, and I hope I get to experience one day.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming to this interview. We really appreciate it. We're wishing you the best of luck this season, and we hope to see you in the majors sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, guys, and have a good new year.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.